And welcome to the Daily Space Weather. It's the Halloween edition, and what day is a better day to be spooked of space than on Halloween? I mean, just look at that spooky, spooky star right there. Oh my God, it's got a face on it. Dear God, be still my heart. We'll be talking about the antics of the closest star and lots more today at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, and happy Halloween, YouTube types. This is the past 24 hours. And yeah, we've got a little artwork there for you today on All Hallows Eve. We've got coronal holes. We've got pretty weak solar wind. We've got a coronal mass ejection popping off as we create the video. We'll show it to you. It doesn't have enough time to escape the corona. By the time we get to that section of the video, let's take a look at some closer imagery here. We've added 304 angstroms to the 193 angstroms wavelength from the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and massive filaments all over the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections between today and tomorrow remains just this side of 100%. The most active sunspot is down here, and we've got 3 new likely named sunspot groups coming in the next 36 hours. We'll get to that too. First, a 24-hour video of the North Polar region. Again, you'll see massive filaments here. Those northern sunspot groups have been largely stable, although there is a new one looking like it's forming there. That might be 4. That might be a 4th new sunspot group. Let's take a look at the southern hemisphere as well. Here's what's going on in the southern region. And this filament right here is in the process of ejecting. You can see the beginning of that ejection starting right there, anchored in between 2 sunspots. So that one is likely on its way out, and it could indeed be earthly directed. We'll cover it. Also, a new sunspot just rose over the southeastern limb. It's pretty large. So far, it's only alpha class. And this is the most magnetically complex sunspot group. We showed you how to classify them on yesterday's Daily Space Weather video. That is, or at least yesterday, it was a beta gamma delta class sunspot. The most optimal type for producing large solar flares. Anyway, let's talk about the channel. Please support the channel. If you prefer to see these videos continue to exist, remain publicly visible, and free for all to view, we need your assistance to get them onto screens. One of the ways you can assist the channel is by becoming a member of the Smash team. Give us some incentive to put out content. Smashomash.com/Smash team. There's a bronze level. There's a silver level. There's a gold level. There's even a gold annual paid-up subscription, which is the best value. Support the channel that way. That is where you get the additional content at Smashomash.com/Smash team. We are all over social media. We're even still on Patreon. But again, for the additional content, become a member of the Smash team. We send out email alerts as well to create a workaround for people not getting notifications on certain social media sites. So take a moment to press the like button if you haven't yet done so, as the video cannot continue until you, yes you, have pressed like. So please do, lest thy soul be cast into an ever-deepening and darkening abyss of doo-doo, diarrhea, and dog puke. Yes, dog puke. That's not what you want raining down on you in your abyss, is it? Is your soul sliding down the banks of the river Styx right now? Well, before it splashes down, press the like button. You'll forget everything you've ever known, and that's not going to do you any good. You'll get reincarnated as a complete noob. So press like. Do the right thing for your soul. It's like the Charon's boat equivalent to a gold coin. Pressing the like button you are not impervious to. It's imperative that you press the like button. If you're new to the channel, press subscribe. Do yourself a favor and get the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content and most detailed solar imagery in the known universe. Other ways to support the channel include paid endorsements, like the spookiest thing in the entire Redbubble shop, folks. Check it out. It's, oh my God, it's the Galactic Current Sheet. Celebrate the apocalypse. Ring in the apocalypse in style and Tell your bunker mates all about how it's the galaxy's fault that civilization is going to pot. Maybe they'll listen to your ridiculous stories of cosmology before they eat you, cannibalism style. So, yeah, the galactic current sheet. Curl up for doomsday in style with our galactic current sheet throw blanket or perhaps a premium t-shirt. Maybe even your pets could use a galactic current sheet. Unfortunately, we don't have bed sheets yet, but there are all kinds of different things that are like in sheet form. Oh, noes, folks, the galaxy. The only thing spookier than a star is a galaxy. Oh, the fictional structure known as the galactic current sheet. I'm spooked of it. You're spooked of it. We're all spooked of it. We've heard nonsense about it, this fictional, non-existent galactic structure, at least at this part of the galaxy anyway. I won't get into the cosmology of it. My galactic current sheet is today's featured product. And today's featured product on the Amazon shop, another paid endorsement, is organic raw cocoa powder. Are you paying like $7 in the grocery store for a little 8-ounce can of cocoa? Well, there's a 5-pound bag for $31. So, I mean, save like 80% on your cocoa by buying it in bulk from our Amazon store. Amazon.com/shop/smashobash is where to find those products. You can also find lots more of things on there. So check it out. Amazon.com/shop/smashomash. Link below the video in the description. As well as on our homepage at smashomash.com. Another paid endorsement is the Hemp Lucid affiliate. You can find a link below this video to that as well. So check out the Sleep, Stress, and Immune gummies. Sleep, Stress, and Immune stacks. Those are $15 off, $70 off the full stack if you get all three. So, yeah, save some dough there on mushroom gummies as well as stacks. Pick up your CBDs through our Hemp Lucid affiliate. Thanks to everybody who has. Support the channel that way. Cheers. And last but not least, if you're unable and or unwilling to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet, help us out with clicks. Press the share button. Press subscribe if you're new to the channel. Press like, or your soul will meet its reckoning. Or something. You don't want your soul to meet its reckoning, do you? At least not to... Maybe you do. I don't know. Other products also available at the Redbubble shop, also linked below the video. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. There's our homepage. Visit us on social media, etc. Follow us on the platform formerly known as Twitter, still known by sane people as Twitter. Follow us over there. I know the censorship is pathetic all over social media, but yeah, there's a whole web ring. There's a forum. There's a merch site. There's a Smash Team site. Hit us up. We'll see you on the internet. Here is yesterday plus today. And yes, we've got at least 3 new sunspot groups. So there's one forming right here in the south. That one's looking pretty decent. There's one up here, right in there it is. And then one just rose over here at the southeastern limb. So at least 3 new sunspot groups. There may be one forming up here in the northeast as well. So we've also got an update on the magnetic tug-of-war that's been going on in the eastern hemisphere. We'll get to that. First, yesterday plus today. That is October 30th and October 31st to date. So that is what's going on. My jack-o'-lantern is not centered anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it. And before we move on to more space weather information, let's take a look at what's going on Crescent Earth. Great photograph there of Kluchevskoye on the Kamchatka Peninsula as winter descends onto eastern Russia. So Kamchatka continues to explode, producing a 33,000-foot plume of volcanic ash there. It's a flight level 330. The world's largest volcano right now is Kluchevskoye, at least the largest erupting one. Aviation code raised to red. Please don't fly your John Denver-style ultralight aircraft over the caldera. Kizimen, also on Kamchatka, now producing a 16,000-foot ash plume. I never heard of it before, but now it's erupting. It's a flight level 160 from Kizimen. Bezimiany, flight level 150. So the Kamchatka Peninsula is the most active place in the world for volcanoes at the moment. 3 significant volcanoes there producing 15,000 and larger ash plumes. Iwo Jima, also a phreatic eruption there taking place off the coast of Okinawa Beach, producing black volcanic ash, lapilli, bombs, and seawater being thrown to a height of 20 to 30 meters there. So, Iwo Jima erupting. Sakurajima also producing a 10,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. It's a flight level 100, flight level 070 from Suwanose Jima. A lot of Jimas. Mount Mayan erupting. Volcanic ash cloud unknown. Mount Ibu exploding. Flight level 070. 7,000-foot ash plume there. 14,000-foot ash plume from Semeru. And a quick reminder from the Smash News Network, please do not pole vault the caldera of Semeru. It's a 14,000-foot above sea level altitude plume of volcanic ash. Dakono exploding, 7,000-foot ash plume. Seismic activity has been going on for the last 3 months under Mount St. Helens. We shared that on Twitter a couple of days ago. So if you follow us on Twitter, you might have already seen that if you actually see our tweets. Good luck with that. Popocatépetl also exploding, flight level 200 over central Mexico. 20,000-foot ash plume. 20,000-foot ash plume from Sangay in Ecuador. Revenador not sure. Only steam and gases coming from Sabancaya in Peru. Don't pole vault that caldera either. And let's get the earthquakes. There have been 2 significant ones in the past 24 hours, both earlier this morning. Seismic activity level currently high. So the first one was near Fiji. That was a 6.5. And it was at extreme depth, folks. Nearly 550 kilometers estimated depth. That is the historic earthquakes of the area. The other one was this one off the coast of Chile. There's the location of that, right near the South American continent. That was at, well, we'll get to it. It was at 12:33 this morning. Here are the quakes of a 5 and greater magnitude for the past 24, starting with this one at Japan. 5.0 at 22:24 yesterday evening. Then, at 0 dark 11, a 5.0 at the South Sandwich Islands region. Then, the state of Yap. If you don't know where Yap is, shut your yap and listen. It's part of Micronesia. The state of Yap, folks, had a 5.1 at 1:11 Universal Time this morning. Then we had a lull in the activity until a 5.0 occurred in Iran. Another indication that people think the end times are here, as earthquakes have been rocking Iran for a solid week. 5.0 at Iran there at 9:13 Universal Time this morning. And then, at 11:10, a 6.5 strikes at 550 kilometers estimated depth there to the southeast of Fiji. And then only about an hour and 23 minutes later, a 6.6 strikes off the coast of South America. So 2 big quakes there on opposite sides of the Pacific. And then some more 5s. Indonesia had a 5.0 at 17:37. Papua New Guinea had a 5.2 at 17:41, only 4 minutes later. And then we headed back to space. Here we've put together the SDO 304 plus 171 angstroms, 2 just classic wavelengths. Again, massive filaments. And don't forget, this one here is currently erupting. I don't think it's going to be earthly directed. However, if you've got an opinion, let us know in the comments. It looks like it's moving to the south, so. Anyway, but let's talk more solar stats here. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux is now at 147 solar flux units, so another uptick since yesterday, and you can expect a further uptick before tomorrow's video. Now, that's not updated yet. It's 147 is the radio flux number. It is represented by this black line, and sunspot number should come up to, let's see, the sunspot number is at about 100 now. You can expect the sunspot number to be somewhere around 120 tomorrow. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard here. NOAA's not forecasting any geomagnetic storms or geomagnetic unrest, and I would tend to agree. Earth has dodged that massive coronal holes high-speed stream. We'll show you why here in a moment. And Earth's magnetic moment from space is not working here. The geospace magnetosphere movies are koofed. So, no geospace magnetosphere movies today, not the ground magnetic perturbations or the Earth magnetic moment from space imagery. Those are down for the count. KP index is currently at 1.67. It is geomagnetically calm conditions on planet Earth. And let's look at the solar wind. So, we never received that high-speed wind from that massive coronal hole. Kind of disappointing. And it has to do with Earth leaving the North Pole current sheet. We'll show you a visualization of that here in a moment. Current conditions as measured by the ACE. Let's skip the ACE once again. It's got missing data. We're going to go to the Discover instead. There is the Discover. Current conditions are about 13 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density. Solar wind velocity here still elevated at 515 kilometers per second. That actually is the second coronal hole high-speed stream. You've got two signals here. You got two signals, folks. You've got this density at about 14 protons per cubic centimeter, and then you've got this density at about 7. Then you've got this speed at about 500, and you've got this lower speed at about 470. That's actually two separate filaments here coming through at the same time with a little different characteristics. You can also see that reflected in this green pane at the bottom. That is the plasma temperature. So anyway, yeah, so still a coronal hole high-speed stream continuing here. Solar wind here over 500 kilometers per second. GOES magnetometers are pretty smooth. That's the past 3 days of measurements by the GOES 16 and GOES 18 at their geosynchronous near equatorial orbits. Just past noon local time for the GOES 18, which is what this blue N denotes. And here's our top view ecliptic plane field plot. And yeah, the tug-of-war has been solved. So no more solar tug-of-war going on the east side. As forecast, the southern solar field, the southern polar field, I should say, has won the tug-of-war on the east side of the sun. So you'll be able to see a lot more stable conditions here. There still is a significant possibility of sunspots spontaneously forming on the eastern hemisphere, though. And Earth is now in a South Pole current sheet. It was crossing the boundary right as we made yesterday's video. So there you go. That's the top view ecliptic plane field plot. Welcome to the South Pole current sheet, showing up just in time for Halloween. Here's our line of sight field plot. And you'll see a lot more stable B field over there on the east. Again, the South Polar field has won the tug-of-war. Here's our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. And there you can see the last couple of days have been much more stable in terms of the polarity of that plasma. So that's what's going on. And it's time to get the coronal holes. So here we've got South Pole coronal holes in the east and North Pole coronal holes in the west. It's pretty easy to diagram that. Let's take a look at SDO's imagery. There you go. So these are north, pretty simple, and these are all south. How about a little closer look? And this new South Pole coronal hole that's rotating in, it is transequatorial. So as forecast, expect an uptick in coronal holes for the coming 2 years. We've had a shortage of coronal holes. They've got to make their migration to the opposite poles. So expect coronal holes. And here comes another one. Maybe that one will create another high-speed solar wind right here at Earth. Who knows? Maybe even geomagnetic storm conditions. Fingers crossed for that. And let's move on to sunspots. So sunspot number here just around 100. We're expecting it to be at about 125 as of tomorrow's video. That's the Royal Observatory of Belgium's data. And here's our flare monitor and scoreboard. Now there may be a new sunspot here, but there's certainly a new one here. And then there's also one up here somewhere, right in here, I think. So we've got at least 3, possibly 4 new sunspot groups that are likely to get names in the next 36 hours. Here come sunspots from the SDO. There's the SDO continuum plus 171 angstroms. You could note the formation of this new group, a possible new group up here, right in that area right there. Also a new group here around the equator, and a new group rose at the southeast. Could be some more active regions rising in the northeast as well. Let's subtract 171 angstroms. There's the continuum by itself. And it certainly looks like more than 100 sunspots, so yeah. Okay, so yeah, we've got 4 new sunspot groups. There's one here, there's one up here, there's one right here, and then one just rose over the eastern limb. So there you go. 4 new sunspot groups. That'll be at least 24 sunspots added to the number. It'll probably be more like 35 to 45 sunspots added to the number. And let's move the Earth scale to the east and show the magnetogram. So again, you will see quite mixed fields over there on the east side. Although the south polar field has largely won, it's still pretty light colored over there. So it still looks like there's a miniature Terminator event going on to me. I suspect polar fields are constraining plasma in such a way that the mechanisms required to create sunspots are not able to come through. But that magnetism will continue to move, and sunspots will come through. Just give it a couple of days. It could be pretty extreme, and we may be seeing the beginnings of that happening right now. So that's another 24-hour video, the SDO's HMI instrument depicting the magnetogram. And let's get to energetic particles and solar flares. So we still do have a high likelihood of seeing solar energetic particle events known as proton events, or the GOES proton flux. It does cause polar radial blackouts when it does occur. And yeah, if we see a major flare right now, even a CME actually could trigger a proton event. So don't be surprised to see a spike in the proton flux here. We've definitely got lots of filaments, and we've got some sunspots that are capable of producing large flares. So there is a solar energetic particle event watch in effect. Next, the X-ray flux. And we're having another flare activity happen here. Looks like it is... I think that new flare is coming from that new sunspot in the southern hemisphere. So we'll show you some up-to-date imagery on that here in a moment. First, we'll show you 24-hour videos from SDO. So that's the past 3 days of GOES X-ray flux. And here's the past 24 hours. SDO 94 plus 131 angstroms. So right at the end of the video, you'll see that C-class flare that happened just recently. That came from this new active sunspot in the southeast. So far, it's only alpha class. It doesn't look super active, but the fact that it's produced a flare at all could indicate that it does have some trailing umbrae. So we'll be monitoring that over the next 12 hours. So that's what's going on with solar flaring. And oh, check it out. There's a close-up of that new sunspot. And you'll see that C-class event there right at the end. That's the second of like a double C-class flare. And okay, it looks like the second C-class flare was from that same area as well. So again, we'll show you up-to-date information on that here in a moment. First, let's take a look at the stars. Yes, I want to know what's going on overhead. What about you? So I like to use a star chart from skyandtelescope.org. And at the moment, the sun has just set over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. We've got Saturn high in the sky. Also Deneb in the constellation Cygnus, the blue supergiant star. Anyway, that's what's going on Halloween Eve. We will have a late, large moon rising tonight. So you'll have a bright moon after midnight, rising up toward its apex. Next, how about a solar system forecast? Here's where things are today. Here's where things will be in a week. We will have a crescent waning moon by November 11th. Here's our astronomy photo of the day. It's the Wizard Nebula. I think because people think that looks like a wizard. All right. That's cool, I guess. Maybe you're into Black Sabbath, but check this out. Here's an interesting write-up. Did you know that Halloween's origin is ancient and astronomical? Since the 5th century BC, Halloween has been celebrated as a cross-quarter day. That is a day halfway between an equinox, which means equal day and equal night, and a solstice, minimum day, maximum night in the northern hemisphere. So with a modern calendar, however, even though Halloween occurs today, the real cross-quarter day will occur next week. So another cross-quarter day is Groundhog Day. Halloween's modern celebration retains historic roots in dressing to scare away the spirits of the dead, perhaps a fitting tribute to this ancient holiday. This close-up view of the Wizard Nebula, otherwise known as NGC 7380. Visually, the interplay of stars, gas, and dust has created a shape that appears to some like a fictional ancient sorcerer, although the nebula may only last a few million years. Some of the stars being conjured from the gas by the great gravitational powers may outlive our sun. There it is, the Wizard Nebula, apod.nasa.gov. It's the astronomy photo of the day. And let's get to coronal mass ejections. So it's always crucial to cover those, I guess, right? There are yesterday's CMEs. That's 106 frames from October 30th. If you're wondering if those are earthly directed, we don't anticipate them to be based on the existing coronagraph imagery. Here are today's CMEs, and there is one pretty good one there out of the northern hemisphere. You think that one's earthly directed? Let us know in the comments what you think before we get to a detailed analysis of it. That's 89 frames from today. Those are the Halloween CMEs. Next, we got C2 and C3 here. And there you can see that northern coronal mass ejection. Does it have an earthly directed component? Let us know what you think in the comments. And here we've got C2 and C3 a little closer. By the way, those planets you can see on the C3, those are Mercury on the left and Mars to the right of that. So there's that CME coming out of the north. Wait for it. It'll pop out on the C3 as well. We've got that a little bit behind. So there it is. Pretty spectacular one. That's nothing to sneeze at. Let's bring this back. Not bad. I suspect it is not earthly directed, but we'll look at stereo A as well. By the way, stereo A is located right here. It's getting a little bit more angular distance here from Earth, so that's a good thing. It'll help us out with figuring out the trajectory of coronal mass ejections soon. And here are the images, raw images on the left, difference imagery on the right. Before we show our custom coronagraphs, make sure you let us know in the comments if you think that's an earthly directed CME or if it will miss Earth to the north. Let us know what you think. And there you can see a really good view of the dense cores that are coming out there. A great example of less dense material being surrounded by less dense material surrounding more dense material. Hopefully we're making your brain dense material by getting you to watch these videos. Remember, folks, you want your brain to be dense. You don't want to be dense. You want your brain to be dense. Dense brains equal smart brains. Anyway, so there it is, popping off at about 11 o'clock this morning. A great view of that from stereo A. Anyway, here come our custom coronagraphs. These are 24-hour videos. And what do we got? What do we got? I don't see any plasma motions on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. Do you? And hence, I do not think that those are earthly directed CMEs. So there's one out of the north and one out of the west. Like I said earlier, there is one actually going on right now. I don't think that's going to be earthly directed. We'll show you why here in a moment. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. Here we've dropped the C3 and added 304 angstroms. And here's just 304 plus 193 angstroms. Those coronal mass ejections are little more than spectacular light shows, so not likely to have any earthly directed components. Boo! Sorry about that, but if you were hoping for a geomagnetic storm, doesn't look like it's going to be in the cards. So anyway, moving to filaments, and again, we've got massive filaments here, and a large number of filaments, and this one here has made its way out. I'm not sure if, did we name that one the Bill Gates? I can't remember. But yeah, we've been naming filaments after living people, folks. So there you go. That one is on its way out. At least part of it is. It looks like the eastern portion of it did remain anchored. So part of that filament's still there. Part of it is headed out into the greater solar system. If you want to name filaments, follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament over on Twitter. Thanks to our 0 new followers over on Twitter. Yes, it's very fun. Social media, it's super fun, folks. We completely encourage you to all start businesses that rely on social media in order to, grow your business. We totally encourage you to do that, and no sarcasm has been utilized in this Halloween edition of the Daily Space Weather Show. Pardon the biting sarcasm. So yeah, follow us over there. There's like I said, we shared days ago the seismic information about Mount St. Helens. So there's that. Anyway, here are filaments from, once again, this is Big Bear, just like this is Big Bear. That's the Big Bear ground-based hydrogen alpha telescope. And here it is in grayscale because it shows prominences. It's zoomed out to show the solar horizon there. Anyway, before we get to bonus features, it's time to show you that CME as it's happening. So this is just the past couple of hours here, and it's looking like a pretty spectacular one there. Check it out. Blasting off out of the southern hemisphere. Could have earthly directed components, but I sort of doubt it based on that preliminary information. And it looks like a flare happening over here as well, so some activity kicking off once again as we create the video. And if you have comments to leave directly for the sun, make sure you leave them in our comments section. Many of our viewers are convinced that the sun watches our videos. Not so sure on that one, but here come bonus features anyway. Starting out with satellite charging hazards. Do we have any? Well, the answer is Ixnay on the Arjingche. No charging hazards. It's smooth sailing for satellites. The GOES electron flux here, let's see, the GOES 16 just dropping out of warning levels, the GOES 18 remaining in warning levels as it reaches noon time, local time for the satellite. That red N, that's noon local time for the GOES 18 and its geosynchronous near equatorial orbit. Here's the 1-year graph. Moderate to high levels of electron flux measured at the F layer of the ionosphere. Here's NOAA's forecast, not quite as high as forecasted. I would anticipate a further uptick, so I agree with that forecast. We typically see quite high levels of electron flux following coronal hole high-speed streams, so there you go. Don't be surprised to see that forecast come true. I won't be. Next, the layer where it's measured, the F layer. Now, keep in mind those satellites are way up at 23,500 miles of altitude. The F layer is at 300 kilometers of altitude, so radiography is used to get those measurements, and here are the vibrational frequencies of the F layer. And things are actually simmering down even though this high-speed coronal hole wind stream continues. So it's pretty chill right now in the ionosphere. It's Not stormy up there. If this is Greek to you, don't worry. Here's the anomalygram depicting anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. So you're going to see less red here than you have the past few days. We should see a continued diminishing of low-frequency anomalies. And indeed we do. So that's the very diffuse material at the ionosphere layer at about 300 kilometers of altitude, vibrating. It is the bridge between Earth and space, you could say. And here's the latest images. That's 2200 universal time for the raw ionogram, and there's 2200 universal time anomalygram. Next, the whole atmosphere model. GPS users, look on the left side. Radio users, take a look at the right side. Maybe both of you will benefit from both sides, but that's what's going on in the ionosphere. A different sort of a view there from the Space Weather Prediction Center. That's NOAA's data. Next, total electron content. Feel free to pause the video on this frame. If you are not familiar with the distances to these things in miles, pause the video here. GPS satellites are at about 12,500 miles, like around half the altitude of the GOES satellites. And here's a total electron content for a global scale. It does not look like it's correct. It looks like erroneous data. I don't know. It's looked jacked up for over a week now, I think. So, but there's the run. And here's the anomaly in megahertz. From the anomaly in electron content, rather, for North America. It's anomaly from the 10-day average. It's depicting literally a count of free electrons. High electron anomalies in red, low electron anomalies in blue. That's the second last feature of our space weather presentation for Halloween. Here's the latest. Intensitygram and magnetogram. Oh, check it out. New sunspot looks like it's rising up here. I can already see an umbra, so we may have as many as 5 new named sunspot groups coming at you tomorrow. Let's see. Has that one degraded? Oh, it looks like as many as 4 then. Okay. This group here is the most magnetically complex sunspot group. It is still beta gamma delta class. Can tell right away, although that delta has shrunk since yesterday, it is still capable of producing large flares. You don't need a large sunspot to produce a large flare, folks. Large flares can happen with little tiny sunspots. So don't be confused about that. You don't need a big sunspot to produce a large flare. So anyway, that's what's going on. And let's transition to meteorology. It's time to go wave hunting. We haven't done it for a few days, so it's time. Here's the world's rather calm seas, actually. We're looking at surface winds here and significant wave height. The world's largest waves are just off the coast of Antarctica, and they're under 30 feet, actually. So we've got some waves in the southern Indian Ocean as well as the Southern Ocean. Those are the biggest sets of waves in the world. Yeah, the seas are pretty calm here at the moment. So that's what's going on as far as waves. It is not big wave country right now on planet Earth. Anyway, let's get to meteorology. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Shout out to our viewers from the east. If you haven't pressed like, your soul is probably sliding down a Stygian embankment into the river Styx. Here are the jet streams of the east. The jet streams of the central world. The surface winds of the central world. And if the people under this map haven't pressed like, may God have mercy on your soul. Surface winds of the west, shown here. And these are the jet streams. We've got an interesting system over the U.S. Check this out. Here's the visible satellite for the Americas. Before we continue on, you've reached the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. So check this out. We have a thing that looks like an inland hurricane bringing wet snow to the Great Lakes states. Check it out. This is some sweet imagery right here. Great example of a counterclockwise rotating northern hemisphere low there, making its way down into Indiana as we create the video. It's a fast mover, and it is moving to the southeast. Fast. Hence why it's called a fast mover. So that's what's going on. Let's take a look at a map showing precipitation type. So lots of wet snow, especially around Lake Michigan. Most of the snow there is staying in Canada. That's a great precipitation type map. If you ever need that, it's windy.com. There's a free mobile app you can download. I like it. You might like it too, so try it. And please stop referring to me as a gaping gash. Next, our weather.gov map. Check it out. Alaska's got a bunch of warnings there in the North Shore region. But that's the key. Lots of cold weather warnings in the southeastern U.S. and in Texas. If your location is lit, on land or sea, click your location and get your specific weather warnings. We've got some, looks like frost advisories in eastern Pennsylvania. And next, let's do some forecasts, shall we? Shall we? There's pressure and precipitation for the next 3 days, and check out the heavy moisture coming to the Pacific Northwest. And then additional snow coming to Wyoming and Montana, and also Pennsylvania. 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation shown here. Next, total accumulated precipitation shown here. And check out the extreme rains coming to Washington, Oregon, and California. Some areas there showing like 5 inches. At least 4 inches. So some flooding possible up there. Next, our jet stream forecast. Since the jet stream's bringing cold air, why not show how that works? There's the 250 millibar winds, the jet stream, based on the GFS 72-hour model. And last but not least, temperature anomaly. In the eastern part of the country, certainly on the cold side, to kick off the month of November. Keep in mind those anomalies are in degrees Celsius. And let's see if anybody's had any lightning. So there's lightning. And it looks like the lower 48 I've been largely devoid of lightning, if not completely. Here's a real-time lightning map. There have been some strikes around the Great Lakes, but not for a while. And the global strike count is about 130 strikes per minute at the moment. And we've got some happening over there south of Italy. Or I should say southeast of Italy. Anyway, here come our final segments, U.S. Doppler radar, as we zoom into the lower 48. There you go. See that rotating low there making its way down into Indiana? Here is the visible satellite. As darkness falls on All Hallows Eve. Here's the water vapor map, and we hope darkness does not fall upon your soul, because you've pressed the like button. And if you're new to the channel, you've pressed subscribe, lest thy soul be cast into an ever-deepening and darkening abyss of no recaps, no space weather, no accurate forecasting for CMEs, coronal holes, sunspots, and more. And that would just be spooky, wouldn't it? Anyway, Thanks for tuning in to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off and stopping my talking in a stilted language in order to climb back into the bunker where unknown horrors await me and all who have been locked therein. Anyway, we'll see you soon. In the meantime, may that solar wind be at your back.